from my undergrad without having the context that I got in a real life job. I think I even saw that in a lot of my classmates, the ones who did go kind of straight in. They seemed a little bit lost, honestly, and it was because, and couldn't get as much or contribute as much in a classroom when we're kind of talking about the theories and all those different sorts of things. So my advice about grad school is I think it's great if it's something you look forward to. Obviously, you don't have to have it. But I just think the context of a real life experience cannot be replaced, and it can only enhance your experience at graduate school.
Would you like to go on, Carl?
I just want to clarify for the record. Last that I think it's time for me to move out of my role that I was in because I outgrown it. I was turned down by 3 different companies, 3, because I did not have a master's degree, and that's real. So I actually had to go to school for the first time, and I was fortunate enough to get into an exec MBA program so that I can show I'm serious about taking my game to the next level, because there's so much what a good interview is going to get you. But at the end of the day, okay, if it's a checkbox that you have to check off, you have to do it. And I think I'm very fortunate and blessed that I'm at where I'm at in my career today. But I get an education, go down that path, because believe me, it's very hard. I just wanted to go ahead and point that out.
I'm so glad Carlos said that, because it's so admirable when people go the other way and still achieve, but they're usually guys that are just like him. I mean, he's obviously a charger. He's obviously a guy who breaks down doors and makes things happen. You still need to be that kind of person, but you know, that there's value in sort of a formal education track, but don't assume it leads to, you know, if you go to college, you should go to college for, you know, to learn things about the world as well as about, you know, what it takes to be a digital marketing strategist at Fleischman Hillard and work for Matt Cobble. That's me.
I'm going to jump a little ahead, and actually, Dan, I'm going to pick on you a little. It's ready to go. What is the role of data analytics, Excel, just a lot of this information with marketing, and how is that related in relation to marketing changing everything, and where do you see it going?
Okay, so this is, for me, this is probably the most interesting development that I've seen in my career. So my background is kind of in research, and that includes primary research and understanding syndicated tools like the Nielsen television panel, or the ComScore digital panel. So a lot of the data and analysis that was done in the past was really used to kind of put together marketing stories that would sort of like help influence like how advertisers spend their dollars, right? So you can do a lot of this research, through these different sources, and a lot of it would sort of go into presentations, and it was used to kind of convince people of an idea. But the nature of data and the nature of the concluded data is becoming so much more actionable than sort of like, bar charts and PowerPoint slideshows. Data has become like really actionable. So I'm sure everyone's familiar with Amazon. If everybody in this room went to Amazon.com's homepage right now, everybody would have a very different experience. So everyone understands that personalization is really a huge factor in serving consumers and delighting consumers, which in turn helps build up a brand and build business. So we have all these new tools available to us as a publisher right now that allows us to do better personalization. So when you come and check out one of our stories on, say, the New Yorker, there's information that we know about you based on previous visitation history or access to information that we have through third parties that allow us to personalize the experience for you, so that we can recommend a better story for you, we can serve a better ad to you, And all these things are really done with a mind to efficiency. So we're able to do more with less by using the data. So I think that's a really interesting development, and I think understanding data and how to use it and how to apply it, especially in digital ecosystems, is going to be a really key factor for being a successful marketer over the next 10 years.
Could I ask you, it's a tough question, but with so much data coming into play, do you have any idea where you can throw a softball, metaphorically, where it would be heading, or have we even used the full potential of what we've started to do with data?
No, I don't think so. I think what big companies want to be able to do is really speak to consumers the way that they want to be spoken to, right? It's really trying to bring back, the feel of sort of like this time before we had these like massive companies and big retailers and more to like the level of sort of like mom and pop shops where you have a handful of customers and you just know them really well, so you can anticipate what their needs are. What we're trying to do with data is to do that on a mass scale and do that with millions of people. So it's kind of weird. It's sort of like we're taking these concepts that are, making it like old and dated, and we went through this period of time where we have mass marketing and mass retail, and now we're trying to kind of roll back some of the notions that people have in their head around companies as a result of dealing with mass brands and mass companies for a long time, and make it more personalized and make the experience more meaningful for every individual consumer.
And we could
Pretty much nailed that, so.
Yeah, role of analytics.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I just would say, right now we're kind of all swimming in data, right? There's just so much that it's hard to even focus on like what do I measure? At the start of a campaign, it's definitely helpful for brands to look at, what are maybe the one or two things I'm trying to achieve, and narrow it down that way. But I think in the future, all of our data is kind of segmented, right? Like there's different, you have your web analytics, you have a platform for your social analytics, you have customer data in a database that spits out Excel files. It's all kind of segmented right now, and in the future I really see companies kind of bringing that all together and aggregating it so that there'll be an overarching dashboard to make faster business decisions about what campaigns are working. So I don't know, that's kind of what I'm seeing in the future. I can't tell the future, but it's already happening with some brands, but I think it's just going to continue to snowball like that. So
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So another aspect of big data that I think is an important shift going on in the business world is that historically in business we would come up with a big strategic plan and we would think and do research, right? And then we'd get to a point that we'd then start. I think it's now the case that companies are moving away from that and rather towards piloting and prototyping now, right, first, and then revising on the fly. Because the big data that we have access to, through retail of sales of a new product, through media campaigns that we can do out in the marketplace, social and so forth, the data is so fast and so easily accessible that we can just start trying stuff and then adjust it on the fly. And then that's a faster and more efficient way to get the market with new messages, new products, new operations, new service offerings than going through what was a traditional kind of strategic planning process. So I think as you guys are moving into your career and moving to those positions, it's going to be important to know about, how do you pilot and prototype and try stuff quickly informed by data versus, putting together kind of a traditional strategic business plan.
Jump on it.
Two distinct ways. One is for segmentation. So if I want to sell diapers and baby formula, I'm going to go ahead and use the data that I have to go ahead and market and send an email campaign or do a targeted social campaign for females and for moms who are within a certain age range. Likewise, if I want to sell hot dogs and hamburgers and promote grilling, I'm going to go ahead and use the data that I have to promote that to male consumers. But I also use data for measurement. So at the end of the day, my boss wants to know how successful was this social or digital campaign that we applied X dollars towards. And I use the data to measure what I call return on engagement. So while executives want to know about ROI in dollars and cents, go ahead and track brand awareness and track that brand awareness through the engagement that we're able to accomplish. And there is an implied value for that. And I think as marketing strategy, but own the results and own the outcome of that strategy. And the data helps you do just that.
Just to add to that, even if, because a lot of times people think, oh, I only need to know data if I'm going to be like a brand manager or, be a strategist or more, involved with the number side of things. Even if you're interested in going into more of a creative role, being a creative who is data-driven and understands data will give you a leg up on everybody else. And so make sure that you look to learn that as well. And there's easy places online to find stuff, with even understanding Google Analytics and understanding the analytics side of social. And it's not a complete, total left turn from designing or writing or something like that.
I just want to add that clearly the silos are breaking down, so the disciplines are breaking down, so those lines between, as she said earlier, you used to be looking for copywriters and graphic designers, right? Now you're looking for people that are more Renaissance people that are more able to do all of those things quicker, being able to embrace the whole process. So that being said, as a representative of the American Marketing Association, I would say you need to be define yourself more than just a marketer. What I would encourage you to do is think like a marketer as you pursue your career. And that means, embracing the data that's available, becoming interested in what product you're selling and finding ways to understand it in the marketplace. And that's what marketers do.
Well, I want to kind of tie those together because we've gone over data and just talking about everything from social media, finding a job in that. What skills are necessary in finding a job? So you mentioned data, analytics, and having Microsoft Office is expected on almost everyone now. That's not something you just put on your resume and say, I learned that. It's so much more. So what skills would you say are 100% necessary looking for a job, and how you kind of found those?
I would say no matter what role you're in, you need to be able to write. and that's not even just if you're a copywriter. I actually just read an article about how Jeff Bezos, who's the CEO of Amazon and basically like the next Steve Jobs, mid-interview he makes the interviewee stop and write something down because he feels that when you make somebody write, you get to actually the core of how they think. And so just make sure that you're refining your writing skills, and that's usually from practice. And that's a number one skill, no matter what, to me.
Excellent.
I would agree with that. I think when you write, you're really thinking. What you're doing is teaching yourself to think in an orderly way. And if you're also interested in art or visual things, practice those things too. You're using your brain, both sides of your brain. I mean, visual and writing, and bringing those things together and trying to discipline yourself. It's part of that lifelong learning sort of discussion, I think. Keep leaning.
In general, yes, being able to write, especially knowing how to, and this is just sort of a side note, but knowing how to format a resume, just something as simple as that can be something that can get you in the door better. But depending on what discipline you're going in, there's going to be some standard programs that you're just going to need to know. If you're going to be a designer, you got to know Adobe Creative Suite backwards, forwards, and sideways. If you want to be in a more strategic role, you got to be able to master PowerPoint. You have to be able to know Excel backwards and forwards. WordPress is one that's now becoming really, really more important to be able to know confidently. WordPress is used in so many different ways, and so that's just another